All right, let's get started. Welcome to this week's live event. I'm Kat from the Wild Alaskan Company recipe team, if you don't know me already. And today we're all here for the tacos, wild whitefish tacos. I'm doing two recipes, sort of. One of them is a recipe for a coconut crusted fish taco. It's crispy, it's golden, it's got a little bit of a tropical vibes. But the other taco recipe that we're featuring has a couple of toppings that I really, really enjoy making. One is like a sort of poblano salsa, not spicy, but like nice and crunchy and fresh. And then there's like a slightly spicy crema that will go onto the tacos. That version is breaded in just regular breadcrumbs that are spiced up with a little bit of this and that from like your pantry spices. So either way, these are both going to be really delicious and very, very doable. So I'm going to make white fish tacos today because those feel like the quintessential fish taco to me. And I'm actually using our current member special, which is wild Alaska pollock fillets. So if you're not familiar with those, let me just put them under this other camera. They're these pollock fillets. I don't know if you've ever seen them in person, but they're like kind of long and skinny, so they're a little funny looking. Once you cut them up, I think they're perfect for fish tacos. I actually prefer these to the quick cuts when I'm making tacos because they're just really easy to slice into whatever size you want. Let's go ahead and get started. I haven't cut these fillets yet, but I'm just gonna do this off camera and show you the size that I like. I've already patted them dry with some paper towels. So when I'm cutting pollock into pieces for tacos, I like to think of like what's gonna be fitting in the taco, but not like totally falling out of it. So that's what we're going to bread with a couple of different options today. Let me set these aside for a moment. That's really all I need to do to prep these. So for the coconut fish tacos, what I have in here is actually a mixture of just like shredded coconut. This is mixed in with like it's like a 50-50 mix basically of flour and coconut. I'm using all-purpose flour today because I don't need these to be gluten-free, but you could certainly use something like coconut flour to keep it in the family. So that's the first mixture we're going to do. I'll talk about the second mixture and then we can do some dredging and coating. So this is just plain breadcrumbs, not panko. I'm going to add in, I forget which of these is cumin and coriander, but one of these is cumin, one of these is coriander, and some garlic powder. You could probably put in more. Just give that a little mix so everything's evenly distributed. Some salt to season it up. All right, so we're gonna start by dipping these in egg. And then give this a little coat. And continue doing that until all the pieces are coated in whichever topping you're making. I'm going to do the rest, I think, in the breadcrumbs. A lot of times if you're doing a full fillet, you'll do flour and then egg and then whatever you're coating it with. But because these are just like smaller pieces and they're cooking so quickly, I feel like it's just, that's why the recipes are written this way. You don't really need that first flour step. It's not going to be integral to the breading sticking on to the fish. Do that for coconut ones and for breadcrumb ones. So far, basically what we've done is we've patted the fish dry and then put some like tasty seasoning on it. And that's pretty much all we need to do for the time being. The secret behind crispy fish tacos is the temperature that you're cooking them. When I was doing this last night, I tried one pan over medium heat and one pan over medium high heat. The coconut fish taco is written for medium high heat, so it is correct. That's how you get crispy tacos. If you cook it at a lower temperature, they're not going to get golden, they're not going to get crunchy, and it's basically just going to soak up the oil without actually changing in texture. So I'm going to actually show you how sad they look over medium heat. So let me get my pans started here. Bear with me, I'm going to move my phone so you can actually see the the stove here. I think I figured out that the phone fits like right under these little things here. And let me just double check. Can you see that? That looks good, right? So I'm gonna let these pans heat up just a little bit. The one on the left is gonna be my medium high skillet. The one on the right is gonna be my medium skillet. And then I'm gonna add in my oil, which is right here. I'm just using like a safflower oil since this is good up to 450 degrees. We're not deep frying, so keep that in mind, but you do want to have a generous pour, not just covering the surface of the pan, but maybe like with a little extra, so that when you're frying up the pieces of the fish, they'll have plenty of oil to cook in. The oil is not gonna get super cold once the fish hits the pan. It'll stay crispy. It'll just work very, very well. So these will be ready. Well, the one on the left will be ready when the fish sizzles as soon as it hits the oil. The one on the right is never going to be ready because it's not going to be warm enough, but we'll get there when we get there. So, but all right, let's start cooking because these smell ready. So I feel like this is actually going to be too high now. Let me just give this a little test. So I'm going to put in, you probably can't hear the sizzling. Oh, this is actually pretty good. But you see the sizzling happens almost right away, potentially too quickly. But I think we're going to be okay here. You want to do some sort of heat management when you're frying, like shallow frying or even deep frying, because things can turn on a dime. So this is definitely a little hot, but I already turned it down. This is like really nice and golden already. The fish is quite thin, so I'm not that worried about this being overcooked or undercooked. But just for comparison, let's go to the medium pan here. You see some bubbling around the side, but you can't hear it over the camera. The sizzling is not as pronounced. You want to have this like really nice golden color, like developing almost right away. And this is what I want to eat in my taco, not one that's going to be like a little, it's like a little pale right now. I might have even had this one too hot. But this is sort of what you're looking for. Some of these little breadcrumbs are going to fall off the fish and start burning in the pan, and that's okay. That's just normal and will happen as you're cooking fish. So this actually looks good, but it's a little bit flabby, and like some of the fish in the middle is not going to be super crispy. So let me keep going with this pan here, because this is the quote unquote good oil. And this is giving the fish plenty of space to cook. You're not reducing the temperature of the oil by putting fish in. Yeah, like this one I left in the pan and it's still not quite golden yet. It's not that it's like a bad piece of fish, but I like mine a little crispier, so I'm just gonna put it in here. I also say the breadcrumbs, I think brown better than the coconut, but the coconut's still going to be nice and crunchy. For these pieces, because they're so thin, they probably only need about 2 minutes per side to cook. If you have maybe chunkier pieces that you're cooking, something like halibut, then I would give it a little bit more time. So all I'm doing right now is putting these on a little paper towel to drain. All right, and there are my little crispy fishes for my tacos. I think the coconut, like the oil is like a little bit hot on these, so there's a little bit too much blackening that's happening on these, but doesn't taste burnt, so that's the good news. And I'm gonna let these drain while we're making some toppings. First thing we're gonna make is a corn poblano salsa. We've got poblano pepper, which is, well, this is part of what's left of it. We've also just got some corn. This is frozen corn that I just defrosted just on the countertop. I have some shallot that I've cut up pretty finely so I don't just get a big piece of shallot, and then cilantro. So these are all literally just gonna go into a bowl right now. We've got poblanos, some shallots. I'm just eyeballing this right now, and honestly, that's how salsa should be made. Just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Also to this, I'm going to add in some crumbled feta cheese. So we have feta in there, and then lime juice. So I'm going to squeeze in, I'll start with like a little wedge right now. And then we're going to stir it together. And that's it. Now you have a little corn poblano salsa. I just give that a taste. Make sure it has like enough of a limey, punchy flavor to it. So good. So that's topping number one. This could go with either the breaded fish tacos or even with the coconut fish, although the coconut flavor on this is pretty subtle, so I like to dress that one differently than the breaded one. But the next topping that I want to make, it's called crema, and it is similar in flavor and texture to crema fresca, which is again another Mexican style ingredient that's like a kind of like a fresh sour cream. Crema fresca just means fresh cream. I actually don't have crema fresca right here. I have creme fraiche, which is a French style crema fresca, basically. It also means fresh cream, that I think is a good stand-in for crema fresca if you don't have that like right across the street from you or at your local grocery store. So what we're gonna make is not the cream itself, but we're gonna make a spicy version of this cream. Creme fraiche is a really good stand-in because it's also tangy and kind of has that similar like kind of almost pourable texture. So in the recipe, this is made with chipotles and adobo. You can buy these little cans of chipotle peppers that are packed in adobo sauce pretty much anywhere. But what you would need to do is process them in a mini food processor to make a paste and then put it into this. I don't like using my food processor if I don't have to, so I'm just doing a shortcut and adding hot sauce to this, which makes it so easy. I'm gonna give this a taste. That had like a nice amount of heat. So those are two really quick toppings that I, made, and this took about 30 seconds to make, and this maybe with the chopping took 5 minutes to make. And it's so worth it because they're both going to add so much more dimension to your tacos. I love having just shredded cabbage, any kind of cabbage for a fish taco. I think that the fresh crunchiness of like a slaw, even if it's literally just shredded cabbage, works really nicely with the crunchy breaded fried fish that we made today. So, all right, I am going to assemble some tacos. I've got some corn tortillas here. Actually, these I meant to heat up. I'm just going to heat this up really quickly. All right, that feels nice and warm now. Let's do breaded fish in this taco. So the pollock is about a 6-ounce portion for these two fillets. Sometimes it's a little bit more than that. And I think it's a good amount, a generous amount for like, I'm gonna be very full after having these two tacos. So on my coconut tacos, I'm gonna do some cabbage and avocado. Put a couple slices on here. I really like having avocado on a fish taco because it adds a nice element of fat to it that I think is really complementary to the lean fish. And that, of course, needs lime. This one, I'm going to do the toppings that were recommended by the recipe. This, I will drizzle on some of this spicy crema. And look at that. That looks so good. I probably made these way too big to actually eat gracefully, but here we go. We're going to do it. I'm going to start with this one. I'll take a bite. Actually still crispy, even though they've been sitting out for 10 minutes or so. Whatever I did to them in the pan has maintained that level of crisp that I really love in a taco. So that one is delicious. And since I don't want to make the other taco feel bad, I'm going to have a bite of this too, if I can. I'm not going to do it. I can't. I'm just gonna go all over the place. Well, that's it for today. I Before I close out, just to remind you, if you're a member right now, Wild Alaska Pollock fillets are the current member special. They're a great go-to option, I think, for fish tacos. And conveniently, they're just like shockingly affordable. They're a really good deal. If you have space in your freezer, definitely stock up so that you have a really easy fish to cook for, nights where you're planning to make tacos and also nights where you weren't planning on making tacos. I think they're great for that. For those of you who are with us today who are not members, you can become a member today with the code LIVE25 and you'll get $25 off your first box of seafood from Wild Alaskan Company. Then you'll get access to exclusive member specials like the pollock deal that we have going on today. You can sign up at the Wild Alaskan Company homepage. So next week, I'm hosting another rendition of Easy Ways to Eat More Seafood. It's a back to basics event that can help you eat more seafood by showing you the best way to thaw, great pantry staples, one of my favorite cooking methods as well. I change it up a little bit every week. Anyway, hope to see you there. Until then, live wild.